Hello and welcome to Bookworms. It's the show where we read books and then talk about books. I'm your host, Alex.
And I'm Joe.
And today we've got a great book for you. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing good, Alex. Why don't we just introduce our guest host here?
I didn't come up with a good name.
She can barely contain herself.
Am I just supposed to say my real name?
Whatever you want to
Yeah.
use.
I'm going
How
with
do you want to go by?
Haley.
Haley.
We'll do the first name only.
Yeah,
All
perfect.
right. Haley, if that is your real name.
I
Welcome
mean,
aboard.
there's only five.
It could be.
There's only 5 people in Grafton, so you're gonna
I'm
be.
one of
able
the
to So it's gonna be very easy to identify this individual.
Literally, I'm like, well, there's probably not that many.
I mean,
Anyway.
if any of them actually do listen to this, do they even have computers out there?
I know the internet can be really iffy.
Do they have phones?
Well, if you have service, you're lucky.
If you, okay, so, are they still landlines?
Oh yes, absolutely. Come on.
So
now.
I wouldn't worry about any of them listening to this.
Somebody calls them up and tells them.
They have landlines, but the telephone wires aren't hooked up. So.
They actually just use the tin cans connected by a string.
Yeah, they ran out of string.
Yeah, so
bells.
we have a special guest for this very special book. We got what book are we doing, Alex?
So our book, this for all of you foreign listeners across the pond and whatever, this one's a little more localized, themed to Joe and I. This book is called A Libertarian Walks into a Bear, the utopian plot to liberate an American town and some bears. So this is about the town of Grafton, New Hampshire. Our author Matthew Hongoltz-Hetling immersed himself into the great wild that is Grafton, New Hampshire.
He didn't have to immerse too much. He is a Vermonter, so they're.
I feel like somebody said it's the south of the north, and I love that.
That's great. But with us is our resident expert,
Yes.
Haley, who is an expert because she is a resident of Grafton.
And, Haley, when the free towners were first moving in, were you even alive yet?
I believe so. I think it was like '09 when the. Sorry, I'm screaming.
Oh, no, a little closer.
Talk closer. I'm sorry, I just yell. I figured I should be far away. I think like the big movement was 2009, and I actually.
And I know it started in the early mid 2000s.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I was born in '99, so I was alive-ish. But we call them the Free Staters. Are they called the Free Towners?
Well, in the book, they're the Free Towners because the Free Staters was the following movement where they expanded to the whole state, especially Keene.
Okay. Yes.
And I have a funny anecdote for later for that because
Perfect.
I met one of them early on.
Yeah, they're fun. They're a fun bunch.
At the mountain. So.
Oh, they're my favorites. I love
Yeah,
them.
the Free State Project, I think, is still ongoing, even though the Freetown Project of Grafton has since failed.
Well, I think they're still there.
They're
Still a healthy
there? Okay.
population.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
What is the Free State Project, though? How would you describe it?
It is a libertarian movement to try to create a government body that is majority libertarian. And since this is such a small party, they figured, hey, let's go to a small state that leans in our direction already. And they picked New Hampshire, and then touring. There was 4 individuals of it originally that were looking, and they were touring different towns in New Hampshire and landed in Grafton, where they met a very fine individual who welcomed them in with open arms.
Yeah. And I think their whole thing was that there's only one cop in town, and they are very, it's very free. There's no rules. There's only one cop. They can't tell us what to do. So that was
That's a lot of towns. I mean, our town, we only had one cop. So
that's what I thought too, but that was their big thing. It's great. There's not a lot of law here. We love it. It's really interesting. And Babiars helps.
Yeah.
So, Alex, why don't you read the back of the book? So, just before we get too far, distracted here, we got a lot to say. Haley's got a lot to say.
This is going to be a very Haley-centric episode. Once upon a time, a group of libertarians got together and hatched the Freetown Project, a plan to take over an American town and completely eliminate its government. In 2004, Grafton, New Hampshire, a barely populated settlement with one paved road, turned that plan into reality. Public funding for pretty much everything shrank. The fire department, the library, the schoolhouse. State and federal laws didn't disappear, but they got quieter. Meek suggestions barely heard in the town's thick wilderness. Bears, on the other hand, were increasingly visible. Grafton's freedom-loving citizens ignored hunting laws and regulations on food disposal. They built a tent city in an effort to get off the grid. And with a large, growing local bear population, conflict became inevitable. A Libertarian Walks into a Bear is both a screwball comedy and the story of a radically American commitment to freedom. Full of colorful characters, crackling humor, and one large social experiment, it's a quintessentially American story. A bearing on our national soul. Get it? Bearing? I don't know if we need to go like full chapter by chapter overview.
No, we don't need to do that.
But essentially, like this book just chronicles the Freetown movement, push to, like we said, a push to increase libertarian presence in the state of New Hampshire, and it led to just destroying like town budgets, reducing quality of life significantly, increased bear population, and high poverty rates. Essentially, I think is the general theme of the book, which is 250 pages, and I just summarized it in one sentence. So look at me go.
I feel like
Well, it was a run-on sentence, but it was a sentence.
I feel like libertarian's a loose term, though. They're quite extremists. Like,
Well, libertarian is a very broad spectrum.
Yeah.
Now, here's, if you ever want to get a libertarian tying themselves up in knots, ask them one question. What are their opinions on pro-choice versus pro-life? Because you know what they want to answer, but they know that they can't say that because
it's supposed to be lawless, kind of, right?
Exactly. It's so, but it's,
Yes.
most libertarian, the large libertarian movement is white males, and as we all know, their opinions on that subject.
That checks out. That seems.
But
like
as I said, you ask a libertarian, their opinion on that, and they tie themselves up in knots because they realize you've cornered them, and they can't say what they really think without sounding like they'll insult each other with a statist.
Ooh, yikes! That's a good one.
And if one does say that they are pro-life, you can just call them a statist, and they will fly off the handrails.
Perfect. We now have a new insult. I love this.
Perfect. Wonderful. I love it. But yeah, the first person we meet in this book is a fire chief, right?
Well,
John
I want before we get into
fine.
before we get into that, we start off the book with a quote from John Muir, and as someone who went to college for environmental science, I recognize that name pretty quick, and because he is a big figure in the environmental movement.
This is the part we edit out.
Oh, perfect.
Okay,
I can say whatever I want. Oh.
So in the prologue, we get the firefighter and the bear. Each chapter, or this chapter anyway, starts off with a quote, and it says, "It seems strange that bears so fond of all sorts of flesh, running the risk of guns and fire and poison, should never attack men except in defense of their young. How easily and safe a bear could pick us up as we lie asleep." And that was said by John Muir. He was the founder or co-founder of the Sierra Club. I don't know if you know what that is, Haley, but it is a nationwide conservation group out of California that basically throw their weight around and get most of our conservation laws in effect in this nation. Depending on who you ask, it's either a good thing or a bad thing, but they're became a very powerful group, and so he was one of those guys that helped get the national park system into effect. So just an important figure. So that's kind of where we're starting here, but it goes downhill very quick from there.
That's the most wholesome part of the story.
From high esteem to meeting a fire chief, if I am to understand. So John Babiars is the first guy we meet. He seems like he's kind of one of the ringleaders of the Freetown movement, and you actually know him, right? Is he's still around?
He's still the fire chief, actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he does a great job on the fire department and on the ambulance, but definitely a big proponent of why those people are in town. I think he may have pushed it a little hard and then realized his mistakes. Because
Oh, he realized his mistakes?
From what I understand, he also doesn't want them there anymore because they make him look bad.
It's all about self-perception.
Yes. Well, yeah. I think that's the libertarian motto.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, he's still the chief of the fire department, and he works on the ambulance as well, and that's kind of his full-time gig.
Isn't that the only paid position on the fire department?
I don't think anybody's paid.
I thought it sounded like he was paid.
Maybe at one point, but as far as it's a fully volunteer ambulance and fire department.
Okay.
I think they might get paid per call. So if they go on a call, they might get
So
paid.
usually they pay like the fire chief, and then everyone else is volunteer. Is how it runs in the town we grew up in. That's how it kind of ran.
It's possible, but I don't think they make very much if he does get paid.
Oh, I can't imagine he does.
Yeah. Yes.
They had multiple chapters dedicated to slashing town budgets, so I'm assuming he's not making much.
Yeah, I would say.
Well, which I always have to laugh that he is voting against paying himself.
So most of the ambulance now, other than one person who she's an absolute angel, is all extremist libertarians, and they don't believe in paying their taxes, but they want to get paid on the department.
Do they understand where their money comes from if they get paid?
I don't think you could ask them that question because they just get up in arms. But that is what people have tried to explain. You know, they want to make money. They want to make money for every call they go on, but they don't want to pay their taxes. So
they're not very smart, these people. So I read this book twice. I read it last year when Haley first said that, hey, there's this book about my town, you might enjoy it, and then I read it again for the podcast this year. And the first time I read it, I was laughing hysterically. The second time I read it, I was like, you know what, these people just really annoy me and piss me the fuck off. And
imagine living in the same town as them. Yeah.
I'd probably murder a few of them.
It's quite the experience, especially the town. Even I know that they came in like pretty early on in my life, and I think actually they talk about it sooner too. Like in the 90s there was a movement, but the town that I grew up in as a kid is completely different from like around 2007, 2009 time. It completely changed when they moved into town. It's kind of crazy.
I believe it. I mean, it used to be it was a dying town, but it was a wholesome town. And, just as the author puts it, basically a bunch of hermits living, in town. And then these people come in, and what pisses me off is these people come in from basically everywhere else and says, you got to live by my standards now. And it's
pretty much.
But that's, you came here to get away from those standards. And
yeah, you would think the people that don't want people to tell them what to do would not come into a town and tell people what to do. But.
Yeah. But that's a libertarian for you.
Yeah.
You have to have my kind of freedom, which is all about me.
Pretty much, yep.
To our libertarian listeners out there, this just isn't your episode.
I know, I'm like, are we talking about shit about libertarians?
Well, when I first heard of the libertarian movement, which was before I heard about the Free State movement, it was like, hey, I could get behind some of this because, a lot of things like basically just leave me alone and let me, I want to be that hermit living in the woods doing my own thing.
Yeah, it sounds really great when you think about it.
But when you get past those initial,
like the posters and the ads,
you start getting the nitty gritty, and they start talking about, as they do in this book here, about we should have the right to sell our kidneys, and it's like
my favorite is the incest and cannibalism.
Yeah,
that's
incest
my
and
favorite.
Yeah, that should be allowed, and then just completely doing away with pretty much all government. I'm like, but that doesn't work. I mean, you had to pay for to have the roads maintained, and like they want to privatize the roads. Like, I'm not going to pay a fucking toll to drive down a dirt road every day.
Yeah, it's a lot of problems. We just had a bridge collapse not that long ago because there was no budget in the town for them to fix these things, and they're mad because they can't get through the roads. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense, but hey, that's their choice, I guess.
Yeah, it just sucks for the people that want to live there that are like, I want to, I don't want to pay a lot of taxes, but I want to pay enough taxes that we can fix a fucking bridge.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice.
Like one of the big things, they talk about the history of the town in the book a lot. And Grafton was one of the last towns to bring in a fire department. And like what finally did it was half the town basically burned down over a few years. And basically the surrounding towns were saying, we're not going to come in anymore. And this is 1800s, 1900s, so it was a big deal for another town to come in.
They do still end up having to respond to a lot of things because being the fully volunteer departments that they are, a lot of times there's nobody available to respond.
What a lot of people don't realize is probably eating into their fire budget a lot more because those towns charge your town for coming in. So they're not they're like, hey, our townspeople are paying us to fight fires in our town, not
Not in yours.
not in yours. And a lot of times, like around where we grew up, the towns all had good rapport, and they say, hey, if we got a giant fire, we need a lot of towns coming in. Everyone helps out because we know your department's going to come help us when we have that. Grafton isn't supporting other towns, so
yeah, it's hit or miss for sure.
Yeah, I know the town I'm living in now in Massachusetts, the mayor and the police chief are butting heads, and so the mayor cut their budget, and he said, okay, fine, we're not going to have third shift anymore. Well, what happened was the town I live in averages 10 to 20 calls a night, and there's 2 state troopers covering 11 towns in the area, and they basically said, we're not going to send any of our troopers over there to cover your town calls.
Oh, God.
Because we got 10 other towns to cover. If you want to pay a state trooper to cover your town, we'll hire another state trooper, but that's going to cost you 6 figures a year to cover the state trooper.
Just pay the police.
It's like, so it's just like, shake your head and like, stop being stupid.
Literally.
I digress.
So a big theme of the book is the bear population. Now, I was wondering if it was like being exaggerated, like the amount of people that were feeding bears, or just like the amount of like bear encounters in the town. Because I feel like he was like, putting them all into a 250-page book. Are bears really that big of an issue in the town, or is it
Yes.
Okay.
I do think that they are actually a bigger issue than other places. I have never seen such massive bears in my entire life, and there's one that broke into somebody's house like I want to say a year or 2 ago. That was like 400 pounds. Like,
oh my God. These are black bears too.
Yeah.
Like, these aren't.
Yeah, these are black bears.
400-pound grizzly bears.
Yeah, they're just
black bears that should not be 400 pounds.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's a family not far down the road. I mean, it's not a very big town, so pretty much everybody's not far down the road. But
we're all neighbors here.
Yeah, it's like a running joke that I mean, it's not even a joke. It's true. They're
tents in walking distance.
Yeah, they record themselves throwing apples off their porch to bears, and they catch them, and they stand outside at the same time every day to wait for food. And then one of my family friends got attacked. She's in the book, I believe. That she got attacked by a bear on her front porch.
Oh yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They do a very graphic description of her getting attacked by a bear.
It's very real.
It's great.
Very legit. Yeah, I know her. Well,
but yeah, there's like a lady who's anonymous in this story called the Donut Lady, who was like admitting to spending like hundreds of dollars on feed for the bears and things like that. So.
Yeah, I really do think that that's real. I feel like I know who the person is, but I'm not 100% sure. But there are several people in town that feed the bears, and they are seriously ginormous. I mean, one walked through my yard 2 years ago. I've never seen anything that size ever in New Hampshire in my life. And I went outside to scare it, and it just looked at me and kept walking. Like, it was not scared at all. So
yeah, that's really bad for the wildlife when that happens.
It's terrible. It's not just the bears. I think that they just feed whatever's around. Like, they're just like, oh.
Yeah,
like
well, when you get 10 cities and people are just throwing their garbage everywhere, they're like, why am I gonna? And our food is very calorie dense, so it's easy to get, and it's gonna fill them out more. And with the warmer weather, and when they got enough food, they don't hibernate in the winter.
Yeah, very convenient for the bears.
Yeah.
Not convenient for us.
He's in the book. They also have a chapter on, or several chapters on, the big illegal hunt where they went in and killed a bunch of bears in the winter while they were denned up, and solved the problem for a couple of years anyways. But as these things happen, is when bears have plenty of food, they start having twins and triplets, and that population, I imagine, bounced back pretty quick.
Yeah, everyone likes to blame, I think it's Ben Killam. Is he the one that
I think
rehabs the bears?
Yeah.
I think that's who it is. They love to blame him, like, oh, it's because he's helping the bears and he's releasing them into our town.
I met him once when I was, in mid 2000s.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think that's it. I think it's just because everyone here is feeding the bears, or like we have a dump. The dump in town is only open like very small hours on Wednesdays and Sundays. And most people don't go. So even if they're not intentionally feeding the bears, they're just leaving all their shit out.
Well, in the book, it was talking about some of the tent cities where the people just have their garbage around and they're not throwing it out. They're just leaving it where they throw it. And of course the bears are going to go wandering.
The tent city is quite the place. If you ever go to Grafton Pond, which is like pretty popular, I guess, quite bougie, it's beautiful there. But if you drive down the road, you go to Tent City, and it is a wild place. It's exactly what it sounds like. And there's not a lot of people living there now. There's a couple. But it's literally this huge wooded area that there's just shit everywhere. And people are, I think, still living there. Yeah. But
do they have bathrooms there? Or are they just shitting in holes and covering them up, or just being like the bears and shitting in the middle of the camp?
Does a bear shit in the woods?
There's definitely no running. I don't think there's any running water there. And there is like a portion of that same road where there's no power. The power lines weren't tall enough, so they're just telephone poles, I guess.
Yeah.
So they have like telephones out there, but no power. And there's beautiful houses out there that are off grid, but there's also some.
Well, I know again in the book they were saying they had to run a generator in the tent city to have power.
Yeah, so. I don't think they don't have anything legit there. Yeah. It doesn't look like when you drive by, you're just like, oh, this is just like a bunch of like random like assortments of outbuildings and tents in the middle of the woods. I don't think that anything legit is going on there.
Last year you were telling me gangs were starting to form there.
Allegedly.
Okay.
I was told that one of the big gangs against, I don't know, is it Hell's Angels or something? Their opposing gang was moving to town because it's lawless there, which is not true. We do have a cop, and
he just sits in his chair, like pinching his nose.
He's
like,
just crying all the time because he's so disappointed. But that I was told that, and this is the same sort of situation. Babyars was so excited because that's somebody that feels the same way as him and doesn't want to enforce all these laws and will enforce their own laws the way it should be, and who knows, but they were all excited about it. The Libertarians were stoked on the gang.
Yeah, because having a biker gang come in is always the good option.
What I was told is if you have a biker gang in your town, there will be no violence in your town. They don't allow violence in your town. Therefore, it'll happen outside of your town. I don't believe any of it. And there has been a lot of violent issues in Grafton in the last, 10 years. So.
Well, and as the author points out very, very many times, is everyone is very well armed with lots of guns just strewn out all over the place just in case.
Well, you never know.
So Haley, how many guns do you have strewn around?
That's confidential information.
I lost all mine off the back of a boat, I swear.
There's.
If you had a TV, and when you'd see when they do these raids on houses, and they'll say how many guns they were able to take from those houses. Do you just kind of laugh? It's like, oh, that's all?
I don't have a TV.
Yes. If you had a TV, would you be laughing?
In true Grafton fashion, I don't even own a television, so I don't know the answer to this question.
Yeah, I work with Haley. Every time I make a movie reference, it's like I come up with something completely original. It's great.
I never know what people are talking about. I just assume they're being hilarious on their own. So
you just think everyone's that clever?
I literally never knew. There's like so many quotes in my life that people have said that I was like, oh my god, this is hilarious, and they're like, yeah, this is from this stupid movie
from the 70s.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, beats me. Didn't know.
I got The Parent Trap the other day. We talked about that one. You're like, oh yeah, Parent Trap, yeah.
Yeah, and I knew no references. How many times do people watch movies to be able to use references from them? That's what I need to know.
Once.
Yeah.
How do you remember all these things? I personally can't sit still that long. I don't know.
That sounds more like your ADHD than the...
Guilty.
Boom roasted. So yeah, we were talking about the gangs, and you mentioned there's an increase in violence in the town over the past 10 years. Like what? I was like, I don't know. I guess I was. I got to reread this book because apparently it's not as exaggerated as I thought. It seems he was actually kind of hitting the nail on the head with it. I was reading, I was like, there's no way it's this bad, but apparently it's this bad. So you mentioned there was like an increase in violence in the town, but I was curious about that.
Yeah, so there was a double homicide in town it doesn't sound that bad until you think about how many people are in the town, and you're like, oh, that's like 10% of their population that was murdered.
So in the corner of the book, this is a town that basically the last time someone was murdered was the last time someone had been attacked by a bear in New Hampshire. So about 100 years.
Yeah, this was like growing, I guess to set the tone, growing up, we had a parade every year at the 4th of July, and we had the best fireworks in the whole state. Everybody would come to Grafton for the fireworks. They're the best. They're still pretty good. Come to Grafton for the fireworks. They would do Christmas for the kids in the town hall, and they just had all these different events. They would do square dancing in the town hall, I think, and everyone in town was super close. You could go. The trick-or-treating was great, and now there's none of that anymore. After the Libertarians moved in, there's literally...
Well, yeah, because they cut the budget. They didn't want to do the fireworks because those were too expensive. And it's like, yeah, but it's bringing people to town. And
exactly.
Didn't your town hall burn down too?
Oh, that's the church.
Yeah, the church.
Yeah,
that was doubling as the town hall, wasn't it?
No. So they bought the town hall is like this little tiny building, and like when you think of a town hall, this is not what you think of, but that's our town hall. Okay. It's on one of the older roads in town. Most of the old buildings are over there, like the town hall. I think there's a schoolhouse. But the church, the Libertarians purchased, because it went up for sale. They built a new church in town. And they purchased it to run as a church, allegedly, so that they didn't have to pay their taxes if they lived there.
Yeah, this is all in the book. Basically, what got them was the town says, yeah, you can be a church if you want to, but it has to be through the IRS. And because the Libertarians refused to acknowledge that the IRS is a legitimate organization, they refused to apply as a religion. And if you know anything about U.S. law, it is very easy to claim that you have a religion. It's basically like, yeah, I got 3 followers. You're good. You're tax exempt.
Legit or First Amendment, right? But yeah, like the pastor literally died on that hill, trying to.
Yeah, he which they never intended to have a religion. That was just what they were saying, so that they didn't have to pay taxes.
Yeah, it was just an excuse. And I guess, well, the guy that had bought the church was, quote unquote, preaching, but it was just kind of made up shit.
Yeah, I don't think that's real. Yeah. I think he was just an asshole that was just trying to turn the town liberal. Maybe, I guess you could call that preaching, right? He was trying to turn everybody into this libertarian, woo-woo, don't listen to the law kind of thing. But no, he was just an asshole that burned himself in the church so that he didn't have to lose it.
Yeah, because he didn't have enough money to heat the place, so he was just starting random fires in the building to stay warm in winter.
And it was an original building in town.
Yeah.
And so they are fixing it now, but they never had anybody come to the church. They never planned to do anything legit with it, and it was quite the ordeal. Everyone was pretty angry because that was a meeting place for a lot of people in town before they bought it. So. And
according to the book, the town was offered the church first, but the Libertarians said, no, we don't want to spend the money to buy it. And the church was basically we're going to give it to you for almost free. And so the town was like, no. So this other guy out from Massachusetts bought it. And
yeah, I'm not... The town also just doesn't have anything. I feel like
this was... so according to the book, it was fairly early on, so their budgets hadn't been slashed that bad that they could have they could have paid for it.
That's fair. I believe that. But there's also not a lot... slowly, I guess I can't think of the word, the camaraderie in town has been dissipating.
Yes.
So, anybody agreeing on one single choice that never happens.
Yes.
So I'm sure they just all didn't agree, and then it just ended up getting burned because of this one guy.
Pretty much. And in the book, it was basically when all these people came in, they were all, yeah, we're going to be a team. And then pretty quickly they started fracturing and kept creating their own little cliques and arguing with each other, so that it became even messier because the townspeople were fairly well united for a little while, it seemed like, against these dumbasses. But
we still are.
Oh, yeah.
I think for the most part.
Yeah, but they don't. The Libertarians started breaking apart, but they had taken over enough of the town that basically the town couldn't just override them on anything.
Yeah, they have a ton of internal problems too. They don't agree with each other on anything.
Yeah,
pretty much. I think it's that whole not following rules thing.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to agree to do what somebody else says.
So a loosely structured government ideal, and everyone's got their own view on it, and nobody's willing to, what do you call it, compromise.
Yeah.
Yeah, no compromise.
My favorite bit was when the fire chief there, John, had to become ousted by the Libertarians because he had to put out a small fire in someone's yard because they were roasting supposedly roasting hot dogs, and they were just having a fire in the middle of the yard. And it was a dry summer, and the police chief came over and said, "Do you have a permit for that?" no, well, you got to put it out. Screw you. So they call the fire department, and John shows up. It just, head down in shame, has to put out the fire that everyone's calling him a statist and a traitor. And
there was a YouTube video of that. That was a huge
they
deal.
they filmed it, and
yeah, that was a big deal in town. And I remember that was such small things, like because my grandfather was the police chief at the time, so it was like such little things. He'd just be like, hey, like, this is not okay, you can't do this, not getting anyone in any trouble, and they would just absolutely lose their fucking minds, like, oh my god, I can't believe this guy's telling us what to do. And then they'd record all of it and think that they seemed like these heroes.
Oh yeah, and that's a big Free Stater tactic, is to go, create a hostile environment, film the whole thing, edit it. Now they're editing it to make them look better about it, but basically post it, and then with all their cronies, look at this status, look at what they're doing, they're telling us what to do, and
they just looked like idiots in these videos. I think.
But you show it to any normal person, and they're like, this guy's cuckoo. He's lucky he didn't get shot.
He's being an asshole for no reason. It's great.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's funny now when you think about it. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, so as the bear population exploded, though, and the book does kind of the chapters bounce back between bears and the libertarians, and I know reading online, a lot of people are having a hard time seeing the connection between the two. So like, well, what's the big, why did, it's like the bear thing is interesting, libertarian thing is interesting, but why are they connected? And it just,
I think even the book kind of struggled to tie the two together.
I could definitely see it though. You said you see this, the libertarians come in and they start leaving their trash everywhere. The bears start coming, and then you get the people like Donut Lady that, oh, these are so cute and they look so hungry. And her story was wild too. I don't know if you remember that one, Alex, of how she had bought a horse from a guy in Vermont because the guy had a goat problem.
I feel like I've heard about this. I haven't read all of the books.
Okay, so like a quick recap. This Donut Lady had 2 horses. One died, and the other horse was just depressed, crying all the time.
Okay.
So she's like, we got to talk to her partner. We got to do something. We got to get another friend for our horse. So they're looking around, see that this guy in Vermont is in a bunch of legal trouble and selling his horse. So she goes over there, and she gets there, and there's hundreds of goats running around, looking half starved.
Oh my God.
And this horse is looking half starved and just listless, and she's like, I'll buy your horse off of you, whatever price, but your horse is going to die and it's suffering. And this big fight with this guy about something, because he didn't want to let go of his animal, but she's like finally convinced him, like, hey, you showed the guy a picture of her horse. It's like his best friend died and he's crying, he needs a new friend, and he's able to get the horse. Well, this goat guy eventually got reported by enough neighbors saying, hey, this guy is nuts and has hundreds of goats just roaming around in his house in the winter.
We need a book on this guy.
Oh, he had a whole chapter dedicated to him. And so the authorities show up, see that this guy's literally got hundreds of starving goats, can't feed them. He's just completely oblivious. He's got literally dead goats rotting in his house just because he can't, doesn't know. So they confiscate a bunch of goats, say we're going to come back for the rest because they didn't have enough vehicles to get rid. He stuffs a handful of the goats into his car and flees.
Oh my God.
Reappears in, I forget what state it was, does the whole thing over again.
He just has a thing. I guess.
Yeah, he has a problem where he basically he doesn't want the goats neutered. They should be allowed to have free love.
Oh my God.
It's like Tiger King, but with goats.
Pretty much. The authorities come after him again. He flees again.
Where is he now?
I think he finally died.
Oh, okay. I'd love to chat with him.
But yeah, they eventually take all the goats from him, throw him in jail for animal cruelty, and.
Oh my God, this is crazy.
But yeah, it was just some little old man, and he just couldn't. It's like your typical hoarder where there's no problem here, as a pile of junk collapses on them and kills them.
Oh my gosh, this is crazy.
But yeah, so
Grafton's not the only crazy place.
There's
crazies everywhere.
Well, as my wife will say, a little game she plays is homeless or Vermonter. So
that's fantastic.
in the book, I guess at one point Grafton tried to become part of Vermont, not realizing that Vermont was playing. It was when Vermont was trying to get statehood. They were saying, "Hey, you guys don't like taxes. We won't have taxes for you if you become part of us," because Grafton was literally bring up arms against the state of New Hampshire to avoid paying taxes, state taxes.
So it's just a long.
This is a long
ordeal
history here. So
that's wild. Imagine if they were part of Vermont.
Yeah,
that should be wild. It checks out though.
But yeah, Vermont was using them as leverage because New York and New Hampshire were fighting over Vermont, who owned Vermont, and they were like, we want to be our own state, and they were using.
And we want Grafton.
Well, they said they wanted Grafton to tell New Hampshire back off, or we're going to take part of your state from you.
The greatest part. We're going to take the best part of your state. Oh my gosh.
It's an interesting book. You learn a lot.
Yeah.
At points, it's like I was almost like Grafton kind of got what it deserved. Yeah, they wanted.
Yeah, except for not like. We definitely, the town, people want to do their own thing. They don't want to talk to other people. They want their privacy. They want to do what they want to do and be left alone. But we went to the extreme, for sure.
Yeah, it feels like more the population increased and too many people wanting to do what they want to do.
Yeah. How much did they say? I feel like there was like a pretty ridiculous number of people.
Yeah, it got into the hundreds. There was never an actual number that they could, a legit number, because so many people were just transient and coming and going as they pleased, and there was no census data on it. They just there's people, and there was more than one tent city apparently. There was several others that had popped up and then collapsed pretty quickly. And
imagine the census guy is not really welcome in Tent City.
Yeah, because it was it's less than 1,000 people in the town, so 100 is a.
Yeah, so they got several hundred people.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it might seem like a small number to bigger places, but yeah, a town like Grafton can't handle that kind of population influx.
Well, I mean, you're talking 20 to 30% population change, and it wasn't just John that was in favor of the libertarian cause. There was a few other townspeople that are like, yeah, that sounds legit. I don't want to pay taxes. I don't want to have to.
Right, and you would think that many people coming in, it would bring money to the town, right?
You would think, but if you don't have taxes.
But there's also nowhere for anybody to spend money. There was a general store in town.
Yeah, which is now gone.
Yeah, so sad. It was a great store, honestly.
It talks about the general store as being the only actual commerce within the town.
Right.
Forever and ever.
And it was awesome, but it just totally collapsed after.
And it compared, I forget which town is fairly close or right next to
Danbury?
No, it wasn't Danbury they're comparing it to. It was another town. The wealthy one there.
Canaan.
Yeah.
Canaan.
Yeah. And they're saying the difference that are paid in taxes is so minuscule.
It's like a couple percent.
Yeah.
It's not even a couple percent. It's pennies difference per $1,000 property.
The quality of life is amazing.
But because but because they actually fostered businesses, fostered all this other stuff, it was that they actually brought people in that were willing to pay taxes, build nicer homes, and they then invested that money into building community.
Yeah, and we got a brand new school my senior year.
Ooh.
Not a new school, they renovated it, but it doesn't even look like the same high school, and that increased everybody's taxes a ridiculous amount. This was in 2015 that they passed it, and everybody was up in arms about it because it was going to increase the taxes, especially. And I think that made it so that Grafton and Canaan actually have almost the same amount of taxes because it has to do with the percentage of students.
Yeah. And I know the libertarians wanted to do away with your public school.
Oh yeah, well naturally. Come on now.
And it's
and
basically the surrounding towns are like, we're gonna charge you through the nose if you if you do that. A lot of the locals are like, no.
Well, because it's 5 towns in one school.
Yeah.
And so it's a big deal. The buses run out to all these other towns.
Only 5 towns? We had 9.
Yeah, only 5. but there was 70 people in a class.
Okay, yeah, we had I think my senior class was 400.
Yeah, so there was 77 in my graduating class.
But we had Peterborough, which was about 2/3 the class.
That was everyone.
It was Peterborough within 8 small towns.
Yeah, working in that district, all the outlying towns had very, very small populations.
Yeah. So obviously this movement kind of collapsed in on itself. Though, as you said, there's still people there. Still trying to live the dream.
Yeah, I feel like there's a new resurgence lately. I don't know if that's just everybody's moving to New England right now. But
There's a lot of people moving north because of COVID.
Yeah, there's a lot of people moving into town.
Well, because
lately.
everything's so cheap there still. The houses and whatnot. And
For the most part, it's pretty equivalent to the surrounding places. Considering what you're getting, like you're like, I don't know about this.
I can see why this is under $100,000. Okay.
Oh, people were murdered in that house. Checks out.
Yeah, I remember you were
The murder hut.
You were talking to our friend Julie about it. A house that was for sale. It's like, yeah, someone got murdered, and before that it was a meth den. And it's like,
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I think that house is haunted. Honestly, we call it the murder hut now. And that was the double homicide happened in that house. And then the next person that owned the house was the road rage shooter in town.
okay.
So shot somebody in a road rage incident. Didn't kill anybody, thankfully. Now it has new owners, so let's just hope and pray that this is not a repeat situation.
That Satan has left the house finally and is not possessing anyone.
I swear there's something going on there. But there was also the washing machine lady issue too.
Oh, what? Tell us.
There was a woman that was murdered and put into a washing
Oh,
machine.
yeah, I read about that, yeah.
Into the bottom of a pond in town.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's 3 people that were murdered plus another person that was an attempted murder, all in a town of less than 1,000 people in less than 10 years.
Yeah, that's sounds like a lovely place to live.
Yeah, love it. We love it.
So you said you could really tell the change in the town. You said that was around 2009. You could really see it changing.
Yeah, I just feel like no one, after that, people weren't getting together anymore and doing the same activities that they used to do. They have started in the last 3 years trying to do things again. They did end up really getting the fireworks up and going, but it is all donations now. But people just, I think, are just really fed up, and they don't know really what to expect from people anymore.
Has the library gotten any better yet?
I don't think so. No. I have tried to go to the library so many times, and it's literally never open. It's like going to the town office. It's only open Monday and Friday mornings and Wednesday evenings, and you're lucky if you can get there. So yeah, I don't think much of it has gotten.
Only if his Mercury's in rising.
Yeah, I know.
In retrograde.
Yeah, you got to just hope. You flip a coin, and if it's heads, maybe they'll be open. Who knows?
I kind of, after reading this book the second time, then towards the end of the book they start talking about the library and how it's one of the last standing town things that still gets any money, along with the fire department for their new fire trucks every 12 years or whatever it is.
Yes, I think they're getting a new ambulance this year.
Oh boy,
big deal.
I bet that was years of infighting for that one.
I think they're still currently fighting, but I think it finally is passing.
But if I ever won the big Powerball, I'd probably donate a bunch of money to that library just to piss off the fire chief. Just be like, sorry, I'm donating to the library. That's more important than your fire department that you refuse to fund with taxes.
It's also the world's smallest library. I don't know if they tell you in the book,
no, they don't say that.
What this library is like. It's I want to say 16 by 16.
It's about the size of the room we're
honestly smaller maybe.
They did say it's all cinder block, so.
Yes, it is.
That thing's got to be freezing in the winter.
Yeah, I don't even know if they have heat. I think there's a creepy basement.
That's fine. Books don't get cold.
Yeah.
just the little children that want to read them.
Yeah. And I don't even know if they get new books. I feel like if you went in there, it would just be going back to the early 2000s, what they have available for books.
Harry Potter, you still haven't heard of that one?
Yeah. Harry Potter's still on the new release shelf.
Literally.
This is the last new book we were able to buy. There's 6 others, right? In that series?
It's a series?
I've read that one 6 times. Oh my god, that's so funny.
So the movement kind of imploded, but then they became free staters, where they decided to take over the whole state, not just one town, because taking over one town was too difficult. And a lot of them end up moving to Keene, which, Keene was never a great town, but
But I really liked Keene.
Yeah, I like
back in
Keene
the day.
too.
It's got that. It's very artsy. It's very folksy, and
So
it's a sweet little town.
Yeah.
Is this why they shut down the Pumpkin Festival? Was that the Free Staters' fault? And if it wasn't, can we blame them?
They're bringing it back.
I think that was Keene State College's fault. From what I understand, for the Pumpkin Riot.
The
there was
Pumpkin Riot.
I wanted to blame the Free Staters.
Yeah, it was like a visiting weekend for this college, and like they had just a lot of extra people in town, and they told the kids at the college, like, "Hey guys, we're gonna really crack down on partying this year." And the college kids just kind of revolted, and they ended up trashing Main Street, and they had to like deploy like military grade vehicles and tear gas.
Did that help their cause?
They had to dust off the Bearcat. You mean?
Yeah, a lot of people got expelled. It was great.
Yeah. Well,
but so the as I was saying, we worked one winter with a Free Stater. He was a lift attendant.
Classic.
And it was just fun, questioning this guy. Yeah, he was heavy set, early 20s. I was probably in my early 20s. We were probably around the same age. And he's going on and on. And basically, it came down to he could smoke pot in the Commons because the cops just got sick of dealing with him. And
that's why he actually probably liked the town.
Oh, that was the
classic lifty.
Yeah, that was the big thing. They want to be able to freely smoke pot in town, and it's like, and this big thing. They go around to mess with the meter maids. Follow meter maids around. And anyone had a vehicle that was about to run out of time, they put a bunch of quarters in.
And that helped their cause. How? Because
it meant that the person couldn't ticket the person. But the funny thing was, I forget. I think it's Sundays. They just free parking. They were still putting coins in the meters to try to
just giving more money to the town as they should.
So again, it's just you. But you listen to this guy, and he'd be all proud about all the things they're doing, how corrupt the police in Keene are, and all this stuff, and just going on and on. It is usually I would be at one of the smaller peaks where we had to sit for an hour. It would make that hour pass so fast. Just
very entertaining. Yeah.
Very entertaining. Just get this guy going off on.
And then leave. Once he's really riled.
And did not feel bad for the next patroller that had to come in after.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah. I gotta say, the one thing I've noticed about Keene that's changed recently is how aggressive the drivers are.
Yes, they are
traffic
getting.
in Keene has gotten.
Yeah, they are getting
worse.
really, really bad.
I honestly don't even think I've ever really driven in Keene.
Oh.
I know Jumanji was filmed there. That's sick.
Yeah,
that's what I know.
Yeah, they
about
got.
You've seen that movie?
I have seen Jumanji. I want to let it be known. I've seen it, I think twice actually. Not to brag or anything.
It's only 2 times you ever seen a movie.
And they were both Jumanji.
Didn't they make a new Jumanji?
They did.
Yeah.
It's not as good.
Jumanjis.
Yeah.
There's 2 new Jumanjis?
Yeah, Jack Black.
Oh my gosh. Should I watch it?
No.
Okay, I probably won't anyway.
Yeah, first one's alright. The second one kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Well, that's unfortunate. Robin Williams is a real one.
Yeah. That is a good movie. Even my children like that movie.
Yeah. They're smart.
Yeah.
I love that.
They also like that. What's the space one that's the knockoff of Jumanji? Do you ever was like Zoo something?
Zarathustra?
Yeah, Zarathustra.
Yeah, Zarathustra.
Yeah, that's so stupid. But the kids love it.
Whatever the fuck that is. I haven't seen that one.
I haven't seen it either. I just know it's a Chris Van Allsburg book. Quick library thing.
Classic librarian.
Yeah. He also wrote Polar Express.
I have been on the Polar Express. I want to just let everybody
yeah.
know that. Northern New Hampshire. Shout out to Lincoln, New Hampshire. That was sick. It was actually really cool. I know you're laughing at me, but as a
I've heard good things.
As
about
a young child, it was wonderful.
I've heard a lot of good things about it.
You should bring your children. It's great.
Probably will someday.
Yeah, it's cool. They give you hot chocolate for real. And I still have the bell. Okay, after our Polar Express.
Quick aside. It's all right. We've never gotten distracted on this show before.
Not once.
I know. I was thinking, like, are we going to go on this tangent about how New Hampshire is the only place where pot's not legal in the whole area? Like, at this point, why?
Yeah, get it together, libertarians.
Yeah.
The live free or die state is.
Yeah. You can't do anything you want to do. Maybe the libertarians were right. Lawless is the answer.
You know what? Just send them all to Massachusetts.
I think that'll help.
Yeah,
that'll do something.
Yeah.
They'll get bullied, I think.
Yeah.
See, that everyone from Massachusetts comes north to get to our liquor stores, and we go down to get to their dispensaries, and it's like it's just trading commerce. It's great.
What is that called? When two people...
A symbiosis.
When two people love each other.
Well, I heard. Yeah, I don't know how true this is, but I heard it on the rumor mill that New Hampshire is trying to figure out how to have state operated dispensaries, so that they can combine them with their alcohol stores, their liquor stores.
Go on the highway and buy your pot and your alcohol, and then drive home.
We'll drive down the road, buy your guns, and then drive back to Massachusetts.
Yes. Fireworks too. We have
fireworks. Yeah, buy your fireworks.
Yes,
but it is, in my opinion, the most genius fuck you to Massachusetts if they do end up pulling that off, because then everyone's
gonna go back.
go to New Hampshire to buy everything, and all the tax revenue that Massachusetts is running.
We've been giving them our money for long enough. But yeah,
let Massachusetts pay New Hampshire's taxes. I mean,
the libertarians aren't doing it.
Yeah, the libertarians aren't
doing it. Someone
has to. let the Commonwealth do it.
Yeah, might as well. Oh God.
Okay, Alex.
Yes.
Where are we going next with this?
I don't know. I feel like we've covered this book pretty thoroughly.
I think we have.
It is not a very long book.
Yeah, it's a shorter book. There's a lot of historical information. I keep getting hung up on this like one part where it's like talking about like diseases in Africa, like somehow getting transported into the bears.
Well, so that was a very loose trying to connect it to why people are, or the bears are more aggressive and the people are so in love with bears. That was a bunch of hokey. I mean, the science was real, but there was a bunch of hokey shit.
That was definitely I'm trying to pad a novel.
Yeah, that was just padding there.
Yeah.
I don't know about this information.
So basically,
it's not worth knowing.
Basically, it has been discovered that cat feces has a bacteria in it that makes people like cats more. And cat piss as an aphrodisiac.
Ah.
So.
Wow.
That's why.
Who knew?
That's why they say for pregnant women not to empty a cat litter, because this bacteria could be in it and it is very dangerous for a fetus.
This is wild. Yeah. And then the bears are doing that to us in Grafton.
No, what happened was
pheromones from bears.
In the book, the bears ate a bunch of kittens. Well, a bear ate a bunch of kittens, and this was the bear ate these cats, therefore it got the bacteria in it. Therefore, this bacteria also shows that maybe people, makes people less afraid, less more
stupid.
Yeah, stupid, basically, willing to take riskier actions. So they're saying that these bears, having cat in their diet, now have this riskier behavior. And they're also saying because libertarians just have feral cats running around all over the place.
They also I think that checks out. I believe it.
But I say the science it was very stretched very thin, and it's like yeah. Quick question for you, Haley: do you believe in a stronger local and state government, or are you more libertarian leaning?
I am not a libertarian.
You're not a libertarian. All right.
I do think it's nice when people leave you alone, but you have to have some sort of structure. Yeah. Obviously, because once these people just went, hog wild, shit hit the fan. Yeah. So
you do need to pay some taxes. Just have some accountability, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to have people coming in and we don't have any zoning in the town, so they can't really tell you what you can and cannot build, basically, which I think is really nice in a way. But there are people in the town who don't like it. We had somebody recently move in nearby us that's like, I can't believe that I get to live in this beautiful estate and it's next to this shithole, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, then don't live in Grafton. Like,
I can see an argument for some zoning. And this is, I went to school in Fairbanks, Alaska, where they had no zoning. And they'd build right on a river. Well, the rivers in Alaska aren't like rivers out here where they're basically so developed that they don't move. Rivers in Alaska shift. Yeah. Thanks. So that you put a house 20 feet away from a river, in 5 years that river's now
going through
the house. And so the people build the house, it gets destroyed. They now expect someone else to pay for it because it's not my fault the house. I said, well, if you had, and it's like, but you build it in a flood zone. You build it where the river literally shifts every 15 years. And shifts back over here. It's going back and forth. Well, it's not my fault. And it's like, well, yeah, it is. Well, someone else, the city has to pay for it for the damage now, so I can rebuild. Because they don't have the money.
Yeah, that's definitely extreme, I think.
So, and also, basically someone that just builds something that's not up to code, and then
Yeah, there's no code.
Yeah, so
you
I
don't
said-
have to. Yeah, but I guess that in that sense, like they suffer, right? I guess ideally that's the whole thought is, well, if they don't build their house appropriately or they don't do the right things, they're the ones that have to suffer.
It's kind of more of like a natural consequences
Yeah.
kind of feel to it.
And for the most part, it has, other than like the tent city thing, like I think it has worked out pretty well. Like people aren't just inherently doing the wrong things all the time. I mean, there was like part of zoning is like they want you have to have a septic, right? So if somebody wants to live off grid, which there's parts of the town where there's no access to power, so you can't necessarily have.
Well, there is ways to get around that in most zoning, and you can in your zoning you can say if you're off grid you don't need a septic system. But you still have to have, say, an outhouse.
Right.
You can't just have human fecal matter scattered around your yard.
You can't just like shit in a bucket. That's not.
I know that's how you grew up.
No, we had running water. Okay, come on now. Some places did.
Hey now.
So you were one of the privileged houses, you're saying?
I would. Yeah. It's crazy though because there are some, and it's funny they say there's only one paved road in Grafton. It's completely untrue. That's a lie. There's 2 main roads that run through Grafton. It's like Route 4 and 4A. And then there's some other paved roads. But there's actually some incredibly beautiful homes out there. There's like one house that an astronomer owned, and they have like this beautiful... It's crazy. There's such diversity of people. Because there's some really expensive, beautiful homes, and then there are some shitholes.
Oh, but before we go... So, one person the one that had the cats that were in, she was part of a cult.
Oh my God. What cult?
Well, I forget what the cult was called in the book, but the book does say you guys had a cult problem for a little while. You had one major cult come in from out of it was an Asian cult leader.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Oh,
Yeah.
I need to know more about this. I didn't know we had cults.
Yeah, you had cults. Yeah, and this one lady who finally had to flee to Arizona because she was basically unable to leave her house out of fear that because bears were breaking into her screen porches. Trying to get into her house because she'd have food from the fridge put on the counter. She hadn't even warmed it up yet, but they could smell it, and because they were just so used to encroaching into her area, so she finally.
There was a bear that just broke into a screen porch like 2 years ago.
Yeah, well, this was probably 10 years ago now that she finally had to flee. But yeah, it was.
So
Yeah, she was the last member of the cult living in town when she left.
does she have a name
Yeah,
in the book? I need to know about this cult first.
like Sol, SOL. I think was her last
Interesting.
name.
I'm gonna have to ask my family for some more details on this.
But yeah,
We can we'll do a second bonus episode where you just it's like
Just
5
talk
minutes
about
be
the
like,
cult.
Yeah, exactly.
Can we please? Yeah, maybe there's a book on it.
Yeah, it
this-
was actually one of the cults that didn't get in a lot of trouble. They had a slight tax evasion problem at one point, but that it never ended up amounting to much. But it was one of the nicer cults. But I guess the townspeople just harassed them all the time because they had a retreat up there, and then she was the groundskeeper for the retreat.
They had a retreat where? Oh my gosh, this is crazy. I'm so curious. So it's not like the 12 tribes or something, one of those scary cults.
No, this was just a random.
Just a
Cult.
regular, normal cult.
No-
Yeah,
normal
just dudes walking around in nightgowns. It's fine.
Pretty much.
That sounds like a normal day in Grafton.
Yeah.
Just the other day, I was at my house and I just heard these children howling like coyotes in the park.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's great radio.
Yeah, perfect. Ray. Good thing we're. Good thing this isn't live.
I couldn't find anything about it.
Yeah, clearly, it was a very successful cult.
Yeah, I know. I can't.
Yeah, well, when the leader died, his son tried taking over, and it kind of fizzled out from there.
Do we know these people's names? The leader,
Yeah, they're in the book.
the son. Okay.
So they're in the book. Read the book.
When was this?
It was. I think the cult was 70s, 80s. Maybe it kind of fizzled out in the 90s. But this woman stayed there until, like I said, 2014.
Oh wow. Okay.
But it says she was the last member of that cult living in the town.
Was she still cultish?
She basically became a recluse.
Ah.
Once the bear problem started getting out of hand, she became so afraid to leave her house because, like she had a in her screen porch was connected to the kitchen, and she had a little porch she could put food out onto a table there, and the bears were pushing through that, and she had to nail it shut to keep the bears
That's
from
scary.
breaking into her house. And I guess the mail lady had to walk her mail up to the front door because she wouldn't leave her house because she was so scared, and she was wheelchair bound to
that's
boot.
sad.
And she was having neighbors take her to her doctor's appointments and everything. And basically, she was just slowly, in the corner of the book, she was just slowly, falling apart. And then she said, to hell with it, I'm going to Arizona. And she actually regained the use of her legs and became part of the community there. And
I really hope she never has to see another bear.
she hopes that too.
That's crazy.
Okay. I think we're about ready to wrap this up, Alex. What do you think?
I would say so.
How
What
long
do you
are we
think,
in?
Ellie? Do you have anything else you want to add?
No.
I thought you had something you want to say.
Yeah. Do you have anything you want to say? to
Any
anybody?
shout outs?
Oh. I couldn't do that to one me.
Okay.
Cool. This was fun. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks
Absolutely.
for joining us.
Everybody stay away from Grafton. We don't need any more people.
Yeah.
Aren't you leaving Grafton yourself?
Fuck yes, get me out of there. I hate that town. But you love to hate it, You have to.
Yeah. Seems like you have quite a few stories anyway.
Yeah.
Talking
Yeah, you had an interesting childhood.
I got something out of it. If not, a wonderful life. I've got some stories.
Perfect. All right. Well, that was A Libertarian Walks into a Bear, tangentially related to what we were talking about.
We got the inside scoop.
Yeah. Joe, what were your thoughts on the book, real quick?
My thoughts was, as I said earlier, I thought the book was hilarious the first time I read it. The second time, I was just annoyed and pissed off with the libertarians and all the stupid people feeding the bears. Because, stop.
A fed bear is a dead bear. Am I right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Should be. It will be.
Yeah. No, I thought it was fun at first. It kind of drags at the end.
It does drag
Definitely.
towards the end.
It's like you're just beating a dead horse at this point, which can conveniently be found in Grafton. Dead horses. Anyway, probably somewhere, right? Anyway, but yeah, that was A Libertarian.
If you
Walks
want the
into a
dead
Bear,
ghost, you have to go to Vermont.
Matthew Hongoltz-Hetling. Well, I guess thanks for joining us today. Thank you, Haley.
Yeah, thank you, Haley. If you liked Haley, let us know. We'll maybe bring her back someday.
If anybody wants to hear about fairy smut,
There you go.
My friend Julie and I were your girls.
There you go. Let us know.
Yeah.
We have a email if you want to get a hold of us, kendallbookworms@gmail.com. We're on Instagram @kendallbookworms. You can DM us there. We're on all the major podcast apps. Subscribe to whichever one you usually listen to, but rate us on Apple and Spotify. Give us comments. I put up polls occasionally on Spotify. Definitely check those out. We'd love to have any sort of interactions with our listening audience as possible. Alex has some books for sale.
Paul Plimpton versus Ragnarok.
You find that on Amazon. We'll have the link in the description. See what else we got. We got a Facebook group. We don't do a lot with that, but if people are interested in joining that, definitely join. We're on YouTube. If that's your preferred listening area, no video, only audio.
And no judgment.
Yeah, no judgment.
I think that's just about it, right?
All right, close enough anyways.
I guess till next time, I'm Alex.
And I'm Joe.
See you never.
This has been Bookworms. Bye. Crushed it.
That was fun.
Ruthless.
She's smart then.
If you listen to any of her centric podcasts, she's like, yeah, I did no preparation for this.
I feel the same way.
Yeah, Joe's. Thank God we have Joe, because it's.
This podcast would still be on the first episode if it wasn't for me.
So you don't have ADHD, is what I'm understanding.
Yeah, and I'm
You have
like,
the OCD, maybe?
I want to say that I'm just the one that's like, we have a schedule, we have to keep the schedule.
He's anal.
One of those.
Hey.
I'm very good about it. I just say we got to do it by this time, so then I can get it posted by this time. And I do about probably 70% of the editing, and so Alex doesn't have to worry
just
about it.
fucking shows up.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
All right, I love it. I fit right in.
All right,
This is
great. We are currently rolling. So.
Oh.
Okay, so just get us into it, Alex.
Okay.
Waiting on you, like always.
I don't know how we start these things.
Oh,
Alex does
I usually lead us.
Okay.
I usually screw up the introduction, so.
Yeah.
See, you're bad at something at least.
It's harder than it looks.
I believe it.
Yeah.
You should feel the pressure right now.
Yeah. All right.